Episode 18, The Wire. Marcus Chen walked toward the voice, each step measured, deliberate. The FBI wire taped below his sternum felt like it was burning through his skin, though Rodriguez had assured him it was invisible under clothing. The canvas bag containing the copied evidence hung over his shoulder, lighter than it should be, knowing the originals were in federal custody. That's far enough. Sal Benedetto stepped into a pool of weak light from a distant street lamp. He wore the same expensive overcoat from their meeting at Giordano's, his silver hair slicked back, his expression calm and almost paternal. Behind him, Marcus counted 3 other figures in the shadows, the thick-built enforcer from before. 2 others he didn't recognize. "You came alone," Sal said, his voice carrying across the water. "That's good, shows you're thinking clearly." Marcus stopped 20 feet away, close enough for the wire to pick up every word, but far enough to run if things went wrong. His heart hammered against his ribs. "You said Wednesday night at 9? I'm here." "You are." Sal's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I wasn't sure you would be. Thought maybe you'd do something stupid like your old man did." The mention of his father sent ice through Marcus's veins, but he forced himself to stay calm. Get them talking about James Chen. That was objective 2 on Sarah's list. "My father made mistakes. I'm not planning to repeat them." "Smart," Sal gestured to the bag. "That what I think it is?" "Everything from the safety deposit box. Photos, notebook, tape." Marcus let the bag slide from his shoulder, holding it by the strap. "Just like you asked." Sal nodded to the thick-built enforcer who stepped forward. Marcus's muscles tensed, every instinct screaming to run. But he held his ground as the man approached and took the bag. The enforcer carried it back to Sal, who opened it and began examining the contents under a small flashlight. The seconds stretched like hours. Marcus's mouth was dry. In his earpiece. No, he didn't have an earpiece. The wire was one way. Rodriguez had been clear about that. The FBI could hear everything, but they couldn't warn him, couldn't tell him if Sal suspected anything. "Your old man was thorough," Sal said finally, his voice carrying a note of grudging respect. 20 years of this, names, dates, license plates, even got a couple photos of my Uncle Carmine, rest his soul. He looked up, his eyes finding Marcus across the darkness. "You read all this?" "Most of it." Marcus kept his voice steady, enough to know what my father was trying to expose. "And what was that?" "This was it, the opening Sarah needed. Your family's operations. The protection rackets, the drug distribution, the murders." Marcus paused, then pushed harder. "Everything you've been running for 30 years. Sal's expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air. The other 2 figures stepped closer to the light, and Marcus recognized one of them, the older man who had confronted him outside the botanical garden, the one who'd called his father stubborn. "You know who I am, Marcus?" Sal asked, his tone conversational. "I mean, really no?" "Sal Benedetto, you worked with my father on the docks. 15 years, side by side." Sal closed the canvas bag. "Your father was a good man, honest, too honest for his own good. He saw things he shouldn't have seen, started asking questions he shouldn't have asked." He paused. "You know what happened to him?" Marcus's throat tightened. "The factory accident." "That what they told you?" Sal's smile was thin, cruel. "There was no accident, Marcus. Your father went to the cops with evidence just like this. Problem was, the cops he went to were on our payroll. They told us everything. So we had to send a message." The wire was getting it all. Every word. Marcus forced himself to ask the question even though he already knew the answer, even though hearing it might break him. What kind of message? The kind that makes other people think twice about playing hero. Sal's voice was matter of fact, as if he were discussing the weather. "We grabbed him after his shift, took him to the rendering plant on Kent Avenue. My cousin Paulie, he ran that operation back then. He had this machine for processing meat. Big industrial thing with gears and a conveyor belt." He paused, watching Marcus's face. "Your father fought. I'll give him that. But there were 6 of us, and 1 of him." Marcus couldn't breathe. The pier seemed to tilt beneath his feet. He'd known, Sarah had told him, Hutchins had told him, but hearing Sal describe it in that casual tone, as if James Chen had been nothing more than a problem to be solved. "After, we burned the building down," Sal continued. "Made it look like your father got caught in the fire. Closed case, no investigation. His widow got a small payout from the factory owner's insurance. You got sent to foster care. Everybody moved on. He tilted his head. Except you didn't move on, did you? No. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. That's the problem with family. Sal sighed. They don't forget. They don't let go. Your father couldn't let go of what he saw, and now you can't let go of what happened to him. It's a cycle, Marcus. A stupid, pointless cycle. The older man, who'd been silent until now, stepped forward. His face was weathered, hard, with the look of someone who'd done terrible things and slept fine afterward. The boy's wearing a wire. Everything stopped. Sal's expression didn't change, but his eyes went cold. You sure, Tony? Look at him. He's sweating in 40-degree weather. He's standing too stiff, and he's asking all the right questions. Tony moved closer, and Marcus saw his hand go inside his jacket. Plus, we got a call an hour ago. FBI vans spotted on Columbia Street. They think we're stupid. Marcus's blood turned to ice. He took a step back, but the thick-built enforcer had circled around behind him. He was surrounded. That true, Marcus? Sal's voice was soft, almost gentle. You wearing a wire for the FBI? Davidson's words echoed in his mind. If the wire is discovered and violence erupts, hit the ground and cover your head. There may be a 30-second to 1-minute window where you're on your own. Marcus ran. He broke left toward the water's edge, his feet pounding against the wooden planks. Behind him, he heard shouting, the sound of men giving chase. A gunshot cracked through the night air, and something whined past his ear. He dove behind a stack of old crates near the pier's edge, his heart exploding in his chest. Another gunshot, and wood splintered above his head. He could hear them spreading out, cutting off his escape routes. FBI, drop your weapons! The voice boomed from somewhere beyond the pier, amplified by a megaphone. Suddenly, the darkness erupted with flashlight beams, figures in windbreakers with FBI stenciled across their backs, rushing onto the pier from multiple directions. Down! Get down! Hands where we can see them. Marcus pressed himself against the crates, making himself as small as possible. More gunshots, these ones different, heavier. Return fire from the FBI agents. He heard someone scream, heard bodies hitting the wooden planks. Then hands were grabbing him, pulling him up. He fought instinctively until he saw the FBI windbreaker, Agent Mitchell's face above him, shouting something Marcus couldn't hear over the ringing in his ears. Mitchell dragged him away from the crates, half carrying him toward the land end of the pier. Marcus's legs barely worked. He caught glimpses of the scene. Sal Benedetto, face down with his hands cuffed behind his back, blood pooling near his shoulder. The thick-built enforcer on his knees, 3 agents surrounding him. Tony sprawled, motionless, near the water's edge. They reached solid ground, and Mitchell pushed Marcus behind an FBI van. Sarah Chen was there, her face tight with tension, speaking rapidly into a radio. She saw Marcus and grabbed his arm. Are you hurt? Marcus, are you hurt? He shook his head, though he wasn't sure if that was true. Everything felt distant, unreal. They knew. About the wire. They knew. We heard. Sarah's grip on his arm tightened. We heard everything. We got it all on tape. The confession about your father, the admission of ongoing criminal operations, everything. When they mentioned the wire, Davidson gave the order to move in immediately. More agents were bringing the DeLuca men off the pier now. Marcus counted 4 in custody. How many were there? 5 total. 1 dead. The older one, Tony Marchese. He drew on the agents. Sarah's expression was grim. The others will survive. Sal Benedetto took a round in the shoulder, but he'll live to stand trial. Marcus watched as they loaded Sal into an ambulance. The older man's face gray with pain and rage. Their eyes met for a moment across the distance, and Marcus saw something in that gaze. Not quite respect, but acknowledgement. The cycle Sal had talked about, the one he'd said was stupid and pointless, had finally been broken. Or maybe it had just reached its conclusion. Special Agent Davidson appeared, his silver hair disheveled, his expensive suit rumpled. Chen, you did good. Damn good. That confession about your father, that's first-degree murder, no statute of limitations. Combined with the RICO evidence we've been building, we can put the entire DeLuca organization away for the rest of their natural lives. They knew about the wire, Marcus said, his voice hollow. If you hadn't moved in when you did. But we did. Davidson's expression softened slightly. You took the risk. You got them talking. You gave us what we needed. Your father would be proud. Marcus thought about that, about his father spending years documenting the DeLuca's crimes, about him going to corrupt cops because he believed in justice, about him dying in a rendering plant because he couldn't let go of what he'd seen. Would James Chen be proud? Or would he be horrified that his son had nearly died finishing his mission? Maybe both. Maybe that was the nature of this kind of legacy. Sarah was talking to him again, something about witness protection, about testimony, about the long legal process ahead. Marcus heard the words without really processing them. He was thinking about the Youth Alliance, about Jimmy Reese and Teresa, about the art classes he was supposed to teach, about Robert and Diane in their hospital beds under FBI protection, about Frank Kowalski and Vincent Zhao and all the threads of his life that had led him to this pier, this night, this moment. Marcus. Sarah's voice cut through his thoughts. Look at me. You're safe now. It's over. But as Marcus watched the ambulance carrying Sal Benedetto pull away, watched the FBI agents processing the crime scene, watched the black water of the harbor lap against the pier where his father's murderer had just confessed on tape, he wasn't sure it was over. Justice had been served. The cycle had been broken. But Marcus Chen, who had spent 20 years not knowing who he really was, who had discovered his identity only to risk everything for it, now had to figure out what came next. He was James Chen's son. That would never change. But he was also Marcus Chen, 25 years old, standing on a pier in Red Hook, with the FBI wire still taped to his chest, and his father's mission finally complete. What did you do when the thing that had defined you was finished? What did you do when justice was done, but the dead were still dead? What did you do when you'd bet your life on one night and somehow impossibly survived? Marcus didn't know. But as Agent Mitchell guided him toward a waiting FBI car, as Sarah Chen promised him that Robert and Diane would be told he was safe, as the Red Hook Pier faded behind them into the November darkness, Marcus Chen realized he had time to figure it out. For the first time in his life, he had time. The war was over. Now, he had to learn how to live in peacetime.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.